seek legal advice, or again, there are useful resources. Just briefly about remedies in respect of SEND. The Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman is one port of call. So they did stop investigating new complaints during the lockdown, but they have for the last month or so started up again. So they can complaints regarding maladministration, injustices, or whatever can be referred to them. And unfortunately, though, the Ombudsman lacks a certain amount of teeth. I mean, all they can do is make recommendations and small financial awards. The complaints procedure, whether it's internal or through the Ombudsman, normally takes a very, very long time. So that is a major problem with the system. Ofsted itself doesn't look at individual cases. They just take an overview. Complaints can be made to the Department for Education or to the Education and Skills Funding Agencies and respective academies. But again, anyone who's gone to those avenues will know that you're not going to get an awful lot of joy. Also, you may refer matters to your local MP, but MPs come in all shapes and sizes, and some are good and some are not so good. But also consider opposition parties, and they may and local councillors. One of the sort of big remedies is obviously judicial review. It sounds quite scary. That is respective of any decision made by a local authority, which is in some ways perverse. There's a strict time limit of 3 months from the date that decision is made, so you need to actually get an application seeking permission for judicial review within 3 months. And also, what a lot of people don't tell you about judicial review, it's a very limited remedy. All the court does, and these are not specialist judges in special educational needs or disabilities, they are only able to quash the decision, and then it goes back to the local authority to make a new decision. So effectively, the local authority could make exactly the same decision. Regarding judicial review, legal aid may be available because it should be assessed on your child's financial circumstances and not yours. And obviously, again, you need to speak to a lawyer if that is something you think that needs to be pursued. Obviously, there's also the SEND tribunal. Before you get there, you have to go to mediation. There appears to be just a very few providers of SEND mediation in this country. And you have to launch the appeal, start the process within 2 months following the issuing of a final EHCP, for example, or a decision by the local authority not to undertake a needs assessment. So again, it's a strict 2 months time limit to get your appeal in. And as I said, before you get to that stage, you have to consider mediation. You don't actually have to pursue mediation, but you need to contact a mediation provider and say whether you wish to consider mediation. The actual launching of an appeal is not particularly complicated. Again, the forms are online, so they again, don't be overawed by it. Or it's not completely daunting prospect. The powers of a tribunal are very limited. They can only make decisions or orders in respect of sections B, F, and I of an EHCP. And respect to the rest of the EHCP, they can only make recommendations. And as I know from personal experience, my local authority won't follow one of the recommendations recently made. Regarding the hearing itself, if it does go that far, I mean, it can be quite daunting. My 3 appeals earlier this year were all held in the High Court, which was my home ground. I mean, from the late 80s, I used to be an outdoor clerk walking around the High Court, and it was very familiar territory to me. But I found the whole process considerably daunting, and then I turned up on the first day as dressed as a solicitor, and after sort of reflection for the next hearings, I thought, you know what, I'm going to turn up in my scruffiest casual clothes, which I did, and I also brought a big photo of my kids, or the kid, for that hearing, and plonked it on the desk. And then I sort of got a look from one of the judges saying to me, well, Mr. Brown, you are a solicitor, obviously referring to the fact that I wasn't dressed for suit. And I said, yes, ma'am, I am, but I'm here as a dad. And that is the most important thing to stress about any SEND tribunal process or appeal, is it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about your child. So really focus on that. So bring a picture in of your child, plonk it on the desk. And for George's appeal, he actually came up for the part of the hearing in the afternoon, and he stole the show. And he's only 12, but he sat there and spoke to the judge, and it brought some sort of humanity to it, and what we were actually there for. It wasn't about me having a ding-dong battle with the local authority or the CAMS or anybody else. It was about him and making sure that his needs are identified and that he gets provision. Also, just one other comment about the SEND tribunal. Unfortunately, unless you've got loads of funds available, it's not a particularly level playing field, because a local authority produces all the expert evidence. So all the reports for speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, CBT therapy reports, whatever, they're all funded by the local authority. So there's clear bias. So unless you've got a lot of funds available, you're going to have to live with that. But just be wary of that very important point, that there isn't necessarily a level playing field. So key thing is obviously producing your own evidence, whether that's loads of emails or loads of summaries, and just any evidence regarding behaviors of your children. I think I'm sort of coming to the end, and if you're watching this, obviously what I really want to know is where in the United Kingdom is good for SEND. I'm sort of not quite sure. I think I've asked this question before, but it's where I know it varies around the country, and I've lived in 2 local authorities, and I know of a third that where it hasn't been good. But I have heard reports maybe further north that it is actually a bit better. Also, how has COVID-19 impacted upon you, and what provisions, if any, has your local authority made to you? And if anyone has got a personal budget they'd like to discuss with me, that'd be really interesting, because that's something I'm going to consider. And obviously, if you want to communicate with me, you can find me at LinkedIn. Just search the name Tom Brown, and my firm's name, Jarman Solicitors, which is spelled Jarmans, and send me an invite, a little brief message, and we can connect and discuss the weird and wonderful world of SEND, which I've sort of become not fascinated by, but it's interesting, and it does need a greater publicity. So thanks to Tree of Hope for putting this webinar together. We will get there in the end, but it is going to be a hard, long slog. So I think I've talked long enough, and I'll hand back to Gill.
Thank you, Tom. That was really, really informative, and I think the statement you made a few times, your child the best, and to document things and keep going, I think was really positive. And also a lot of the advice that you were just talking about, is all very sort of balanced questions for people to ask upon their child's return to school, and all very helpful. And yes, you talked very much about it all being about the child, but just one quick question from us. Managing your own emotional resilience, and obviously you've gone through a lot, as has your wife as well. How do you manage yourself? How do you keep going, Tom? Because it's a long slog, and you've had a lot on with judicial reviews, etc. So what helps for you?
In a way, it's easy. Fortunately, my wife and myself, we're very much on the same wavelength. We don't always agree. You do make sacrifices, obviously, but I don't look at my children and think, oh gosh, they got SEND. They are Millie, Harry, and George to me, and we live as family, and we have really good times together. So the sacrifices you make are really worth it. It's understanding them is the key. So that was the big turning point for us, I think, is when it all sort of first developed. You think, well, we just didn't know what was going on, and why are my children behaving this way. Once you understand, it's not a deliberate thing. It's something that they need help with. So you're there just to be on their side and very supportive. And I have brilliant times with my kids. So it's fantastic. And obviously during the lockdown, it's given me an opportunity to spend more time with the kids and enjoy it greatly. So the fact that we don't go on holidays or anything and don't go to fancy restaurants, even at the best of times, not a problem. I've got, God's given me these, not religious by the way, but he's given me 3 great kids, and I think it's all fantastic.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tom. That's great. Oh, hi again. Oh, right. I'd just like to bring Charlotte in now from Supporting Paws, and